I'd like to call the Charter Township of Oxford Planning Commission regular meeting of November 4th, 2021 to order. If we could please rise and give our respects to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If Susan, we could call or note the roll. We have two excused absences this evening, with Ed Hunwig not making it and Michael Spiz not making it. If you would note the roll, please, for that.
Yes, it is noted.
I need a motion to approve the agenda for this evening.
Make a motion that we approve the agenda for tonight, Thursday night, November 4th, 2021.
Support.
I have a motion by Mr. Nold and support by Ashley Ross. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I would ask for ayes or nays. All ayes?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye for me too. I need a motion for the approval of the minutes of the Planning Commission regular meeting of 10/28/21.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular Planning Commission regular meeting on 10/28/2021.
Support.
I have a motion from Mr. Nold and support from Ms. Knopf. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I ask for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Seeing none, motion approved. Is there anyone here from the public tonight who would wish to speak on items that are not scheduled for this public hearing or on this agenda? Seeing none, we'll move forward. We have commissioners' comments. I'll start this evening just briefly. I want to talk about Mr. London. If you'd please come up to the podium here. For members on the Planning Commission that may not know Mr. London, he is now the new Township building official. And there are two members not present here tonight, which you obviously won't be introduced to. And we wish Mr. London well in his duties and performance in the Township.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. London.
Thank you.
I'd also like to talk about, we have December with one meeting possibly. And because it was regularly scheduled on the 9th, that doesn't appear to be working out. It's probably going to tentatively move to December 16th. So mark your calendars accordingly, and we'll know more at the end of this month on what that meeting date will be. Next, do any other of the Planning Commission members? Ms. Knopf, do you have any comments?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Bailey?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes, I'd like to welcome Ashley to the
Okay.
group tonight.
Okay.
You don't have to go down the podium or anything. But welcome, thank you. That concludes my comments, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Ross, do you have any comments?
I just want to say thank you. I'm excited to be here. Get started.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have our public hearing. So that everybody knows, the purpose of this public hearing is to receive public comments on proposed zoning ordinance text amendments to the schedule of uses, definitions, and specific use standards within Oxford Township. Our presentation this evening is going to be by Zach Michaels from Carlisle Wardman. And Zach, are you going to go to the podium for that?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to sit here and do it or not.
It's easier to see folks.
Okay.
Oops. Good evening. So as mentioned, the proposed text amendments are for the schedule of uses. It would basically replace the current schedule of use with the table that we've seen, and amend definitions and specific standards associated with the things we've been talking about, and add standards and definitions for temporary storage. The table, as discussed, the big change there is that things have been put into alphabetical order. Things that are being deleted are down at the bottom, so just to get them out of the way. Trying to think, there maybe just minor change for grammar here and there from the text you saw, but otherwise it's pretty much what we left with last week. We did share a draft of it with the township's attorney on Monday. I have not heard anything back, which is either really, really good or really, really bad. I suspect it's probably good because they've seen this a lot of times and they've had help touching it and shaping it in the direction it's gone. And what I can add to is that if it receives a favorable recommendation, it'll be going to the Township Board next Wednesday, first meeting next Wednesday for first reading. I've already got the ordinance as the Township Board sees it partially completed. It looks a little bit different from what you guys see here, but it's the format that they've used. So if you look at it and it looks weird, that's just the format that they've got. And happy to answer any questions.
Well, since I've been so involved with it previously for the last 6 months, I don't have any. Are there any of, and it's very lengthy, so I don't, and plus we had most of our discussion previously from this
Yep.
meeting. And there were only minor tweaks that we made in accordance with some conditions from the attorney's point of view and some of the other things that we corrected. I don't know if anybody has any more comments or concerns, if they'd like to place those now, please speak
Yeah,
up.
you need to hold the public hearing first, and then
Oh,
you could have,
oh, before we do discussion?
yes.
So we have to open the public
You
hearing.
have to open, take any.
I got
close.
it. We got to do this in order. Thank you. I appreciate your comments on that. I lose track of where I'm at sometimes. We need a motion to open the public hearing.
I make a motion that we open the public hearing tonight at 7:06 in the evening in regards to the zoning ordinance text amendment as presented by our consultant.
Support.
I have a motion to open the public hearing by Mr. Nolan, supported by Ms. Knopf. Thank you. So we are now open for public testimony. If someone from the public would like to speak this evening, is there anyone?
Should we vote on the motion?
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's what happens when you don't do this very often. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Seeing none, public hearing is now open. We next have room for public testimony, if there is any, for this public hearing. Is there anyone from the audience that would wish to speak this evening? Seeing none, I guess I would ask for a motion to then close the public hearing.
I make a motion that we close the public hearing tonight dated November 4th, 2021 at 7:08 p.m.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Nolan, support by Ms. Rose. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. See, any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is now, the public hearing is now closed. Now we can have comments from the township consultants and staff. Is it? We don't have any other comments from any consultant members or staff. I mean, Mr. Sharp, when I spoke to him earlier today, said he didn't need to attend the meeting tonight. And Zach, you don't have any other concerns that you want to speak of, so I think we're probably through with any consultants' comments and staff. We don't have any review of any other correspondence that I know of, do we?
There was none.
There was none, so now we have commission discussion. So if there's any commissioners that would wish to speak, I would like them to do so at this time, and in whatever order people make. Do you have anything?
I do not. I sat in on a few of the review meetings, and I know we thoroughly discussed it then, and we had good discussion over the last few meetings together as a commission.
Thank you.
Our working
Thank you, I appreciate your
sessions.
comments. Let's go down to Mr. Noel, work our way back this way then.
I'd just like to say there's been many months of work on this project, and I think it's all for the betterment of our ordinances, particularly for those in the office staff as well as the lay people, that they can understand things more clearly, use this matrix to help things out. So I think this should move along. I think it's a good product that we put out with a lot of work. Thank you for that, Mr. Mike.
Ms. Ross, you're new with us this evening. I don't know if you've had time to.
I have read it. I do appreciate all the clarification. I don't have any questions on what's presented. I'm very appreciative of the updating process and going through that. How often, I feel like you said it before, but I just can't remember off the top of my head. How often should we be doing this as a planning commission?
Well, it had gone for quite a stretch where we had not done it. And then it was brought to our attention that there were a lot of things that needed to be looked at. And it honestly clearly started last fall with discussion. And then we moved into it because we were trying to resolve some other issues that we were looking at from the ORC. And we got through those, and then I have now then looked at this. I don't really know at what point in time in the future, as things dictate for us to then look at other components with how the communities change in their use classifications and sometimes in their categories that they want to have in different locations. But we're trying to stick pretty close to what the master plan has dictated, and we review that a minimum of every 5 years.
Okay.
So, that's kind of the component of what brought this all forward. I think it's been lacking, and I think we added some nice use classifications to the township to help promote business here, commercial and industrial, if nothing else, and some people are automatically coming here residentially. So, but the use classifications are very important on what we put into perspective as a permitted use, without having to then come back and go under a special land use or something of that nature to bring it forward. So I think that's what was really critical about how we put this together with those districts. And before I go any further, do you have any other questions?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I think
Mr.
there's
Bailey?
a lot of hard work went into it, and I appreciate it. I think it's gonna be easier next time we go through this.
I know, I was just gonna ask.
Well, because we're in commissioner's discussion right now. Did you miss something that you wanted to ask us in lieu of that?
Yeah, I came and picked up the schedule of changes on October 22nd, and I was wondering if there's been any changes to what I picked up. Are these the changes that you guys have passed, or has there been changes made since that time? And I thought you were going to go through the changes so that I could make sure that
From the previous context of what you had to what we have to date, and I'll let Mr. Michaels speak in regards to it, but just for clarification, because we missed a lick here with you
Yeah, I'm
getting up there.
sorry,
That's
yeah.
okay, we're gonna back up for 1 second briefly. There were only administering things that we needed to address from what the attorney had us do for compliance with guidelines from that. But there are no other additional changes within these use classifications as to what would be permitted within those zoning districts. So we didn't change any of that data.
Okay, so this packet is what you guys passed?
Yeah, and actually, as a matter of fact, before I came tonight, I would prefer for myself to even use that packet, because all my notes are within those
Yeah, okay.
documents. And that's the one that we really formalized for this evening.
Okay, that's,
Now, if Mr. Michaels needs to elaborate on it, if you want to say anything more.
Yeah, so what I can add to that is the most recent version that they've got is dated November 1st, 2021. I've got the one from October 22 that was at the Planning Commission its last meeting. And as I'm looking at it, the reason why I didn't go into a whole lot of depth is because there really weren't any substantive changes or changes that affect the meaning. What we did is the order of the items within the different tables were changed up so that they were in alphabetical order. In a couple of cases, there were kind of parentheses describing the uses just so folks would know what we were talking about. Those have been removed. I'm going to do a quick version here, or run through here. Some of the highlighting was changed on the table just because it was something that we didn't need to discuss anymore. I like to highlight just so that folks know what's going on.
Some definitions for each flag.
But Zach, as far as actual changes from what use classification And what we have, the original document she has from October is what we're looking at for approval.
Okay.
We had to make a couple minor little tweaks in it,
Yeah.
but there weren't anything specifically other than what you have in front of you tonight.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, okay, that's a good question, thank
Yep.
you.
And for the text in this fella, I can't remember any changes that were made since November 1st. There may have been like an A or an and that was missing that was added in there, but nothing that changes any meaning with it. The highlighting was removed.
Well,
Thank you.
if there are no other commissioners' comments to be made, I would look forward basically for a motion and to move this forward.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion prepared.
Mr. Nolan, okay.
I move to recommend to the Township Board approval of the proposed amendment to Charter Township of Oxford zoning ordinance number 67A as amended by amending the text of those sections as referred in the Carlisle Workman Review dated November 1st, 2021, a copy of which is attached and incorporated as part of these minutes.
We have a motion made by Mr. Knoll and supported by Mr. Bailey. Is there any discussion on the motion that was made? Seeing none, I think I would like a roll call vote for this, Susan.
Knopf,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Berger.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you so much. I don't think anybody here realizes the time element we put into this thing. Next on tonight's agenda is unfinished business, which we have none that I know of at this moment. And we have 0 new business this evening. And so we would go then to communications or committee reports. And who's on the Economic Development Committee currently? I should know, but I guess are any of them even present this
It
evening?
was me and
Oh.
Mr. Young and Mr. Stiz.
Thank you. Okay, so Mr.
I
Spiz
have
and Mr.
nothing to
Young.
report.
You have nothing to report? Well, that's okay, then we're down to 0. Now, ordinance review, I think we kind of just capitalized on what we've been working on for several months, although today, we had a great meeting today. It was in regards to, believe it or not, driveways and requirements for specific driveways and where they can be located. And then another point that we brought up through conversation at the last meeting when Chief Schultz got up and was concerned about narrow driveways and not having the availability to get emergency vehicles or fire apparatus or anything down those driveways because they're not maintained in accordance with any type of maintenance or clear view of, or clear way, I guess, to get those larger type vehicles down through there. So we're working on a new ordinance that we don't have in place for access for ingress and egress on residential properties with long driveways and mostly long driveways, not the shorter ones like within the, subdivisions and such. But it was a really good meeting today, and we have some things that Zach put together for us, which were very helpful for me, from other communities for some guideline criteria that we will probably be bringing forward to the Planning Commission in the near future for a recommendation for approval on that too. We still have other things on the agenda to look at that we haven't gotten to yet, but we're moving forward as quickly as we can. And I think Mr. Knoll sits down, I believe, once a week with Zach and Mr. Curtis, the township supervisor, to discuss how things are progressing and how we're moving along. And I think we're trying to work at a speed that doesn't put us into a position where we're making mistakes, but we're trying to get things done expeditiously. So that's kind of where we're at, and we don't have anything else at this point. Seeing that Mr. Sharp is not here, do you have anything to say, Zach from Carlisle Warman Group?
I can address the kind of general question from Commissioner Ross of when should you look at the scheduled uses? And being a good planner, I'll give you a couple of answers to that, because one answer is never enough. And I'll start by saying that the township has kind of worked at this in the not too distant past, but it was more specific to I believe it was just the agriculture district and the industrial districts kind of separately. And this time it was a little bit different, is we put everything into this table just so we could see how different uses compared, and that's how we found some weird things, and basically where sometimes the same thing was called different things in different zoning districts, so it helped make it out. So a couple of times when you would regularly want to do this is after you've adopted a master plan. And that goes for all of your zoning ordinance. You're going to kind of want to look at it and see where it deviates and work towards doing it. If there's significant changes in case law or state statute, you're going to want to do that whenever that happens. You know, not the next day, but at a timely basis. And then kind of on an ongoing basis, maybe not every year, but every couple years, as the community changes and the types of businesses and uses that are out there in the wild, it's good to just kind of do a refresher. So that could even be done at the same time that the master plan is reviewed, you know, every 5 years or so. But if you're in a community that's transitioning or you're getting more industrial or different commercial uses, you may want to do it more regularly. And that's all that I have. You haven't given me a whole bunch of time to do a bunch of more interesting stuff. As I mentioned last time, we do have coming up for December preliminary site plan for a cluster development, which it's been a while, if ever, that this community has looked at one of those. That's at 930 Drainer. It's called Sanctuary Hills. That's where the Crossroads for Youth property was that received a zoning map amendment back end of last year, or middle of this year. And as a reminder, HB 4722, again, HB 4722, passed the House of Representatives in Lansing. It basically eliminates local units of government's ability to manage short-term rentals. It classifies it as a residential use of property. You can continue to do sound and noise and those type of things. But you could limit the number of rental units to 30% of your dwelling units, which is kind of a high number. It still hasn't been voted on in the Senate, but if you are inclined, give your senator a call or an email to let them know what you think. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Zach. Seeing nothing else, it's time for adjournment. Thank you, everyone.